All right, good morning everyone. Good morning Queensland, and good morning to all of our Facebook Live followers. So we've got a few things to get through today before I head off to National Cabinet, but the Health Minister and the Chief Health Officer are available to stay a little bit later. So we have 14,914 new cases and 2,812 positive rapid antigen tests. Now, tragically, it's a very sad duty for me to report that we have lost 6 people overnight. That is the largest number of people that Queenslanders have lost during the pandemic. Can I please express my deepest sympathies to the families of the loved ones that have passed away. These are people's grandparents, brothers, sisters, uncles, and I think this will be a very difficult time for families at the moment. Unfortunately, we are in a pandemic, but it's still a very, very sad day for these families. These 6 people who have lost their lives are aged between their 70s and their 90s, and the Chief Health Officer will give a little bit more detail. But when you think about during the whole 2 years of the pandemic, we lost 7 people. To lose 6 in one day is a big shock, and our thoughts are with the people at the moment. It's quite upsetting. Can I also mention that we have 556 people in hospital, 26 are in ICU, 10 are ventilated. The Chief Health Officer will talk a little bit more about that. We have 91.33% of people have had at least one dose, and 88.18% of people are fully vaccinated, and I'll come back to that in a moment. In good news, 795,000 people have had their boosters, so that's wonderful to see people coming out and getting that. And like I said, it is very important for people to get their boosters. That is that added layer of protection. And if I can also reiterate what I said earlier, that if you are a senior at the moment in our community, whilst we are going through this wave, and I've said this publicly, please think about limiting your movements during this particular point in time. We've also activated the Care Army, so if you are at home and you can't access certain services, the Care Army is there through the Community Recovery Hotline, and that is 1800 173 349. And our Care Army has done a mighty job over the last 2 years, and they've been stood up again. So I thank those men and women who are giving up their time to help the most vulnerable in our community. Good news, our 5 to 11-year-olds are getting vaccinated, and it's wonderful to see. In fact, speaking to young people across the Brisbane region, everyone's excited to come and tell me that they've either had their vaccine or they're booked in to get their vaccine. So that's wonderful to see that's happening as well. And of course, we've got National Cabinet starting very shortly as well, where I'm quite sure that we'll have a lot to discuss there. I want to talk to you briefly today about the 90%. So we're due to hit 90% around the end of next week. However, today I've had a conversation with the Chief Health Officer, who has advised me this morning that the situation across the East Coast in terms of Omicron cases now gives rise to some measures that I'm about to announce today. I've also spoken at length with the Police Commissioner. The Police Commissioner also advises me that some operational requirements are needed for police. So with that, I'll hand over to the Chief Health Officer.
So we have, unfortunately, 6 deaths to report today. 2 people in their 70s, 3 in their 80s, and 1 over the age of 90. All had significant underlying medical conditions. 3 of them were in residential aged care. 5 of them were double vaccinated, 1 was unvaccinated, and none had received a booster. Our thoughts are with their families and loved ones today. So, and out of respect for the families, I won't say anything more clinically about these patients. I do need to point out that because the virus is widespread, because we have widespread vaccination in the community, and because many of these patients, such as these, have complex medical conditions, it's sometimes difficult to work out if an individual patient has died from or with COVID, or to what extent the virus has played a part in their death. So from now on, our reporting we will simply report the deaths that are deaths in individuals who have had a positive COVID test around the time of their death. So we won't wait for further information from the coroner. We will just simply report any death that occurs in a patient who has had a positive COVID test around the time of their death. This brings us into line with how other states are reporting these cases. And as I say, sometimes it is very difficult to work out with patients with such complex medical conditions exactly what role the virus may or may not have had to play in their death. But this is how we were reporting them going forward. Okay, in terms of the hospitals, there are 26 patients in hospital ICUs at the moment, 10 of them ventilated. Interestingly, that's a fall from 30 yesterday.
Well, children as young as 5 have rolled up their sleeves today, playing their part in keeping our community safe in the fight against COVID-19. It comes as Queensland parents are being urged to take advantage of the extended school holiday to get their children vaccinated before they return to the classroom.
He may not be old enough to appreciate it just yet, but little Vin Valzan has just created history.
7, 9, 10. Good boy, all done.
The 10-year-old is one of the first kids under 11 in Queensland to roll up his sleeve and get the vaccine.
Because it'll protect the elderly and the community.
Today's the first day children aged between 5 and 11 are eligible for the jab.
I guess it's okay because Mum keeps saying we can't go to all of these places with loads of people because we might get COVID.
Professor Paul Griffin, one of the state's leading diseases experts, wasted no time. His kids were immunised as well this morning at the first opportunity.
They're very happy to get vaccinated. A little bit nervous. I think there's a lot for them to take in, but they're still very keen to get the vaccine, and I'm really looking forward to seeing them protected as well.